Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me here. Events like these, this year to be precise, and the previous year, are two events why it's really worth living the scientific life. Speaking about my presentation, I took a rather relaxed approach, and what I'm going to do in less than 15 minutes, I will show you, because as I understood my task is to give advice. So there is no advice speaking about Czech, as you will see, there is no advice speaking about Czech social security schemes. What we can do, we can see the story. Hence, I prepared, and I'm going to show you data in terms of people and in terms of our chaos in financial or fiscal policy, social security policy, and to be more precise or to be more accurate, I prepared two bad examples that we have been subject in last 20 years, and two, let's say, not good examples, because when you are improving savings of your scheme, when you are ordering people to take less, it's not good, but in long term, maybe, as they say, it helps us to survive. Speaking about money, so as we will see, there has never been substantial, or there have never been substantial cuts in spending policy. And as you can see, the last years or years of COVID-19 were extraordinary. So maybe one sentence is enough to show you, to expose you to our experience, and that's that for the whole year 2023, there is certain amount, incredible amount of deficit planned by the government, and now in the middle of the year, in June 2023, we are just out. We just exceeded the approved or passed cap on deficit. So the next 6 months, we are, of course, we are continue doing what we have done previously, but it's just beyond the scale. So really, there are huge structural problems in our fiscal policy. There always been, and it's going to be worse. In terms of population, at least here we see certain, let's say, as they say, it's the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's, of course, the bad story is that Czechs are dying out, or at least for us, it's a bad story. Although I have to say that I did my part. I have 2 children, and I fulfilled my mission in this world. So as you see, we are dying out, we are evaporating, but, and that's true from 90s of previous century, and it's ongoing process. Of course, it was increased in last year. The only reason why the total number of inhabitants in the Czech Republic is still going on up are foreigners. That's obvious. Of course, we are not Poland, but speaking in total numbers, we say that we have been subject to the biggest immigration wave for last 30 years. So now we have like 10% of the whole population, and I'm speaking about those who are legally dwelling in the country. So we can speak those who notify their presence, and now we can guess how many people did not notify. So we know that 10% are there, and they are legally there. Maybe there are additional 500,000 people who are not, who are there, but they didn't bother to notify respective agencies. So number of foreigners is going up, and I think, speaking in general, it's a good thing, because of course without foreigners there is no function. We need foreigners for many fields of our industry, of course, construction, of course, heavy industry. We need them for healthcare, health workers, aid workers. Really, without them, there'll be tension. Because, of course, the main story is there is always shrinking number of workable or working populations, what means that, on the other hand, you have ever-growing number of elderly. Of course, there is a forbidden say, but I dare saying it, COVID-19 was the real Czech pension reform we did in last years. So the two good stories and two bad stories. We start with the bad story. It's our prime minister, or was our prime minister. We are going back to 2014. His name in English could be bad weather, or it's a word-to-word translation is bad weather. So bad weather gate. And we are speaking just to set it into broader understanding, to see the context. You have, think about it. In the Czech Republic, there is no real second pillar in pension insurance scheme. By this government, by this guy, it was pushed through the parliament. Of course, there was not consensus, and the opposition, leading opposing party in the parliament said, once we win, we will abolish it. And they, of course, they sent formal letters to all foreign investors, for all foreign insurance companies which were willing to enter and which entered the Czech market. Don't come, we will abolish it. And the gate was, and now I'm not making it up, it's just real thing, and I can prove all words. So think about it. You have second pillar. It was pushed by the government. It's a program for, if not 20, 30 years. And you need trust of your population. And now what happened? The woman below is a secret lover of the prime minister. But that's not all. That's usual in the Czech Republic. Secret lover asked the military, asked two generals of Czech, we have plenty of generals, two generals of the military, and military is going to spy on the prime minister. Why? If he is going to divorce. The military in action, spying on the prime minister, is caught by the police. Why? Because the police is monitoring the prime minister, because the prime minister promised 3 MPs if they step down, if they help him, the good goal, so to cut spendings, they will get some other posts. So at that time, they thought it's illegal, they spied on him, so, but therefore, they get the information, there is the military spying on the prime minister. So, and the prime minister was caught, Mrs. Nagyová as well, or Nagy as well, and that meant this guy lost his post as the president of the leading political party in the government. The government fell, and new elections, and the opposition won, and we lost the second pillar. So our story, you abolish, or we abolish the second pillar after a few years in action, and of course, what is the end? You lost the trust. So the government has never since then dared to initiate second pillar again. There is not enough trust because we abolished it. The story is closed. Not such funny story, but or hilarious story, but again another example of unwise policy. In 2021, the government decided, so we were at the time of COVID-19, and they decided we have to save, we have to cut taxes. So at that time they decided we will lower taxes for people like me, for the middle and high earning people, and they did so, in consensus. This measure was done in consensus with opposing parties. So you have high spending time, and what do? You lower taxes for, let's say, rich or modest people or almost rich people. And now the opposition, I'm slightly running out of time, so just allow me to additional, let's say, in these pure language positive examples. You have opposition which won elections, and their leading slogan into elections was, "We will not increase taxes. We will not increase taxes." And now you see what they did. They increased taxes. So you have the opposition. They agreed to lower taxes. Afterwards, they won elections into the parliament because they say we will not increase taxes, and they increase taxes. So you see, the opposing party, those who are in the opposition in the Czech policy, skyrocketing numbers, they win if there were elections, and what they do, that's obvious. So what did the second mistake done by the government? Presidential elections. And during presidential elections, no response. After the president elections were ended, and the candidate, let's say the candidate connected, or people say he's the candidate of the government won, the government decided we will cut pensions, we will cut indexation. What is it, indexation? In Czech Republic, let's say you have 20% inflation. Therefore, there is in the law you have to increase pensions. And in 2023, you decide you will not increase indexations, you will not increase pensions for 2023. 2023, and you see there is constitutional dimension of this issue, is a huge problem, because you have almost 2 million of insured people who are retired people. They take pensions, and they were told in 2023 in March, we didn't know inflation is so high. We didn't know that we have to increase pensions. Now we get the information, and we have to do it. We have to do it now. You know, there is 1,024 people at the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs. And I ask, why do we have so many people? If they don't know, they simply don't know. So it's an unwise decision, because people don't believe that's true what the government says. Whatever is the truth, they don't believe. That's another cut into the trust of population. And the last one is, let's say, decision of the government to cut spending. Huge discussion. Currently, it's still not approved, but I'm just going, what is the vivid example of savings in the Czech Republic? The government decided we have to save money, and of course, more or less everybody agrees. Of course, it's a question, what shall be cut? For example, I don't know, increase taxes, and so on and so forth. But the vivid example and the main story, of course, it's not so vital, but it caught attention of the whole population, is wine and beer. As you know, I'm member of Czech drinking team. We all drink beer. And what the government decided to do, they will increase taxes on beer. But at the same time, they will not increase taxes on wine. And what is the reason? Because Austrians, Hungarians, and others, evil people, didn't increase taxes on wines. But at the same time, you cut pensions, you increase taxes for other. You increase taxes for books and for journals. And the difference between various scales, 30 seconds, just to the scale, the difference between those journals, scientific journals are still without increase of taxes. But the reasoning by the government, let's say the criterion applied by the government is, if it's issued at least once in a week, it's scientific. If not, it's not scientific, and non-scientific journals we will tax more. So the broader picture, whatever you do, you still see that the spendings in the Czech social security schemes, speaking about state budget, public budget, it's always going up. There has never been longer period of time when we cut spendings. And of course, there is no there are no similar numbers about productivity. And I'm not speaking about productivity my wife. Simply the country as the whole cannot afford it. They cannot afford it, or we cannot afford it. But the problem is, of course, that those measures are chaotic, they are done on the spot, and almost always the government is rapid in losing trust of the population. And simply, there are some unwise decisions that will blur the whole policy as the goal, the whole reasonable policy. And that is the story that simply there were recent cuts, but we know that the government lost votes, and that's always someday elections will come, the opposing party will win, and that's for sure they will reverse the policy. So there is not happy end. Thank you for your attention.